Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this December 3rd version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. And if you're interested in finding our stuff, it's all located on a link tree under EOA.network. You can find all that there. Scan that code if you want, and it'll take you there. There also is a place to where if you want to donate and support EOA Live TV, there's a place for you to do that. Here in just a little bit, we are going to have Union County Sheriff Cody Bowen with us. Yeah. That'll be a little different. Normally, so it's,
instead of doing
keeping it clear, it's keeping it clear on the AM show, which is awesome. Yeah,
it's already December.
Oh,
and it's second Monday.
It's like depressing. I am just now getting used to writing 2024.
Yeah, and now it's going to be 2025 in less than a month.
Yeah.
In less than a month. I was thinking about that, like just how fast like sports seasons roll by too. It's like a blink of an eye and football's over.
Yeah.
We just started football. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, the weeks don't go by super fast, but the weekends do it if there's no sports.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. When your parents tell you that, like slow down and enjoy this as a kid because it starts moving fast, believe them. Like it's real. It really is. My oldest just turned 20 last week. 20.
Wow.
20. Not a teenager anymore.
No.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, we've been off a week or so from shows. Yeah.
Thanksgiving week. We didn't do a show at all last week.
Yep.
But we're back.
We're back. It's good to be back. Yep.
Good guest today. And should be interesting.
Yeah. And I think it's on the schedule, but on Thursday, Taylor Scroggins, who used to be the director of LeGrand Main Street downtown. He now is the director of the warming station. That's not their call, but the warming station has kind of expanded their programs, and he's going to be with us on Thursday.
I did not know that.
Talking about that. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, all right. You want to do sports?
Let's do it. AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit. They got the greatest selection of board games in the Valley. They just recently got in the 2023 Game of the Year. It's called Dwarf Romantic. And it looks pretty cool. I don't know the gist of it, but you could obviously go in there, 411 First Street right here in LeGrand, and talk to Joe and his team and check out their board game selection. It's crazy. You walk into that back corner and there's board games everywhere. Hobby Habit, just for the fun of it. Sports slows down a little bit early in the month of December, but the fall was super hectic, as everybody knows. Winter sports practices are underway, though, and competitions are getting ready to jump into full swing. I'm really looking forward to some basketball and some wrestling. I don't enjoy the indoor sports as much as outdoor sports, but I still really, I'm pretty fond of basketball and wrestling as well. EOU still has one fall sport team competing. The volleyball team will play tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. in their pool play game versus Midland in the NAIA National Championships in Sioux City, Iowa. They turn around and play Kokomo on Friday at 2:30 as well, and it's this simple. Win your pool, move on. So if they win this pool, they play each team, whoever has the best record, and then tiebreaker goes to sets. If they win the pool, they move on to the Elite Eight. I believe they've been in the Elite Eight the last 2 years in a row. So, they're the highest seeded team in this pool. I think it's Pool H, and so I think if you were to number it, I think it's 7. So I think EOU comes in as the 7th ranked team. They don't actually do a poll at the end of the year, but I want to say EOU, after the loss to Southern in the CCC championship, is 7. So in the other brackets, we have it's crazy. We have 5 teams. I think 5. EOU, C of I, Corbin, and Southern. No, we have 4 teams in this pool play, and Corbin and C of I are in the same pool. So you'll see, there's a chance that we see 3 teams from the Cascade Conference in the Final 8. EOU men's and women's basketball will kick off their conference play this weekend at home versus OIT in Southern. The women play OIT at 5:30 on Friday, and the men play OIT at 7:30. And then the women on Saturday, they play Southern at 3, and the men play right after at 5 up at Quinn. Get up there and support the Mounties. EOU men's wrestling goes to Clackamas, where they'll have duels against Clackamas on Saturday, and then they'll wrestle in the Clackamas Open on Sunday. And then on Sunday, right here up at EOU in the field house and in Quinn Coliseum, the women will host their Mountaineer Open for wrestling, and it's all day Sunday. So if you want to go watch some good women's college wrestling, get up there to EOU and check it out. LHS Boys Hoops tips off tomorrow at home versus Umatilla at 7 p.m. right up at the LeGrand High School gym. And then the girls go to Pendleton on Friday to take on Columbia River at 3 p.m. As for wrestling high school-wise, we're 2 weeks away from the Milenberg and the Safeway Buckle Classic. It's crazy. I mean, we're already almost Milenberg time. It's not this weekend, but the following weekend. And it's a great tournament. And if you enjoy wrestling, that's the place to be. I remember when I was, younger, and even now, not quite as much now, but man, that gym used to be packed for Milenberg. AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit, just for the fun of it.
All right.
Yep.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at the weather outside.
Good morning, bud. Armchair quarterback's back in Cove.
Glad you're
Watching
back,
over us.
and you're home now, right?
He is home.
Good. No, it's like it's no snow out
That's
there,
good.
but yeah,
That's good.
but
I'm
it
good with that.
could show up anytime. Yeah. All right. Well, let's look at that
Looks
graphic.
pretty clear out there too.
Yeah, it does. It is.
Yeah, sunny day.
So 27 tonight, 45 the high, and it's supposed to be, looks like sunny Wednesday and Thursday, and then partly cloudy. It doesn't look like the moisture shows up until Saturday.
And Sunday.
Sunday, yep. So like we're kind of in this holding pattern of whatever this is for the next couple of days.
The cold is manageable, but the snow and rain's not.
Yeah.
In my eyes. I mean, the cold is the cold. It is what it is. But
Yeah,
like once you start, I don't like that snow that's really wet.
yeah.
Oh.
The parade pictures that you took the other day. That was the Twilight Parade was very nice the other day.
Yeah, it was nice. There was a lot of people out there.
Yeah,
There's
and
a
really
lot
good
of people out
participation. Somebody commented on that they felt like the parade was the biggest that it had been in a long time.
It seemed like it was pretty long to me
Yeah.
for a LeGrand parade.
Yeah.
I mean, LeGrand is like parade happy, as you know. Like we have a lot of parades, but the participation was up there for this one. Yeah, it was cool.
I did a little video before. People we have streamed. Maybe I don't know that we've streamed the parade. It's been a while. Anyhow.
We've streamed other parades.
We stream a lot of parades, but that one is a little more complicated because there's very little light and a traditional video camera does not do very well. But anyhow, we had somebody on Facebook like, "What? You didn't stream the parade?" It's like, yeah, well, just so you know, that's why it's a good idea to support the sponsors because they're the ones that help bring that kind of stuff, and we just didn't have the manpower to do it that night. We talked about it, so. But what a great event to be at. So
yeah, it was nice out there. It was cold, but it was nice.
the pictures that you took turned out good.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, this morning we have Union County Sheriff Cody Bowen. He's going to be with us right after this. We'll be right back.
Eastern Oregon is full of interesting people, with interesting minds and interesting things to say. Here at EO Live, we're committed to connecting you to these intriguing people with EO Talks. We let our special guests share their ideas and life experiences with deep, open, engaging, and inquisitive conversations. You'll also be informed in depth on some of the most recent and relevant events, issues, and more. EO Talks on EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku.
Is this haunted?
Okay. Here we are. All right. we're back. Union County Sheriff Cody Bowen. A little bit different setup. Normally you're in here in my spot.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't like the little table.
Well, you know, we didn't have the little table for show a wide shot so that people could understand what he's like. So yeah, we didn't have a little table there at all for the guests, but they kind of felt a little bit naked.
Yeah.
You know, like
exposed.
nothing. Yeah.
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 I remember. You guys remember when we were kids and there was TV dinners and TV trays?
Oh yeah. I still have TV trays.
They were like in a little case sitting next to the.
I still have them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those things are awesome.
Next time I come, let's do a TV dinner episode. All right. And we'll have those throw them in the oven.
The ones in the tin foil.
Yeah,
where
you
get
peel the top and it burns you. And, the brownie. Yeah.
Well, and so when I was a kid, you know, sometimes you'd go to a big dinner and you had the kid table.
Absolutely.
The little kid table.
The card table set up in the corner.
Yeah, and that was like, and I had a grandma. My grandma Clapp, she would set up this a regular table, and she had a philosophy of no kid table. Everybody was going to be at the big table. Yeah. Yeah, nice. And I've always adopted it. But yeah, this morning, unfortunately, you're at the little kid table.
That's okay. Keeps me humble.
You're a big dude at the little kid table.
There was always an uncle or an aunt that sat at the kids' table that was banished from the big table.
Yeah, it's always the cool aunt too, or the cool uncle. Like, the one that's sneaking out smoking.
That happens at weddings too.
Yes,
you know,
does,
it's like you have, that's the nerd table over there. Yeah. Oh,
good
well,
stuff.
hey, good to have you with us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's nice to be back.
Yeah.
You know.
So we were talking beforehand that you've been hunting a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Well, or at East Nora. You've been hunting.
Been hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was more of just relaxing. After the
Yeah.
election, I took about a week and a half off and just disconnected from everybody. And I felt bad because, you know, my wife, she's shoulder to shoulder with me through that process. And I said, honey, I'm out of here. And I left her at home, and then, you know, about 4 or 5 days into it, I was like, well, that was kind of a jerk move.
I mean, all the kids are out at least.
It was when I got up on the mountain, I got cell phone service, and I missed about 4 calls and 13 texts, and one of them was my dog was sick, and of course he made a mess all over the carpet, and she let me know that, you know, hey, I'm still here taking care of things.
I'm taking care of this, and you're hunting.
I guarantee you there was a part of her that really enjoyed that time.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it was quiet, peaceful. Yeah. Not me stirring up any drama on Facebook.
Right.
So, she likes it when I don't have cell service. So. She needs me, she'll come find me.
It's like, I'm going to take your phone away from you.
Yes.
No, but you know, and you were like, you know, I mean, you were in season, just the way hunting season was, you know, when you have elections.
Yeah.
You're in season. I mean, it just, you know, I mean, I'm sure there are times that you didn't feel like I mean, you don't really know for sure what to do sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and I understand that. It's like there is no right move.
Absolutely. I just know that I got to do something.
Yeah.
I was talking to. We have a new public information officer, Sharice. Who
new?
Well, not new, but she's finally, you know, getting the swing of things and getting a feel for me of, you know, not, you know, she's understanding, you know, what I expect and you know what's okay and what's not okay, and I told her, you know, no publicity is bad publicity. You know, if you're getting out there and you're getting the views and you're getting out of it, you know, it's you know, but you have to dial that back, you know, at times. So. Especially,
you gotta find that line.
You gotta find that line, and it's taken me a while to learn that line. You know, I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, it's social media is a beast that is left up for interpretation a lot of times. It's like a text message. You know, there's no facial expressions, there's no tone of voice, there's no anything. So, it's a very fine line, and I'm learning that. You know, like when I first got elected, it was, you know, think before you speak. I had to learn that. You know, it was everything came from my heart, and it still does for the most part. But I've learned to what's, you know, I won't say what's appealing, but what's acceptable and what's unacceptable. So, part of growing up and part of being in this role and being this this, the weight on the shoulders that I have in this role. So
It's called having a filter.
it is having a filter. Yes. Yeah.
I don't have one.
Yeah.
No, nor a poker face. Kyle has no poker face. Not only does he not have a filter, but you can immediately see what he's thinking. Yeah.
Yes.
But and after the election, after the national election, I mean, I've got a wide variety of friends, and many of those. I mean, some of those friends were like super disappointed. And they voiced it. Why Trump is the end of the earth and so on and so forth. And it just I'm kind of middle of the road. I mean, I think we really didn't have any very good choices on either side.
Sure.
And I think most people would agree with that. But I simply had to not engage, even though I wanted to. There were times it's like but it was just like a firestorm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's frustrating too, because when I had no concept of politics and elections, before up until 4 years ago when I first ran, and and I think we've talked about this before, but what it does to people. I mean, I've lost a lot of friends. Well, I say friends, but people I thought were friends, but over different, just political views. And it's like, you're the same guy, whether it's November or it's, the primary, we're the same people, just different views that have been, I guess, exposed more, or now, and it's like, it's very disheartening and frustrating to see what politics and your view versus your view does to the core group of people.
It's unfortunate because it's designed to do it.
I agree. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Like it's designed to cause separation.
Yeah. But what's funny is it wasn't always that way.
No.
I mean, when I moved here in 97, it wasn't until I was in a discussion with somebody that I actually realized the difference between being a Republican and a Democrat.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no concept. I couldn't have told you of the sea of family and friends which was which, because it just didn't matter, And now we've come to this place where a couple of weekends ago I had a getaway with two buddies of mine that we did production 40 years ago. I mean, we've been friends for 40 years. Well, I mean, we've drifted politically to different sides since then.
Yeah.
And it was just navigating that with lifelong friends was just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It puts an awkwardness there that I wish would go away.
Yeah.
I really do. Yeah. I there was a time you didn't know if someone was a Democrat or a Republican, and it didn't matter.
You didn't care.
Didn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. That's all done with, though.
Yeah.
Screw it.
Good.
So,
Onward and
but
upward.
since we're here,
Sure.
is there anything, I mean, you come through the election and stuff, are there some takeaways for you?
Absolutely.
I mean, because certainly, I mean, people are poking and they're pointing stuff out that,
Yeah, there's some huge takeaways, and I met some really neat people this time that they opened their door to me, and when I say open their door, it's people that I hadn't talked to in the past, people that didn't know much about me, or even the media and the keeping it clear, the transparency, and so I met a lot of people that really opened my eyes and asked me some very candid questions, and one of those questions was about my my ethics, and the question is how do you work over at Pendleton during Roundup and take the money from that and ethically think that's okay? Well, they didn't realize that. So Pendleton pays the deputies that go over there. They pay the sheriffs that go over there. I take that money and I've donated it to search and rescue every year. I don't keep that money because ethically I think it's wrong. I mean, I'm over there, I'm getting paid a salary here, and I'm over there working and getting paid for that. It's double dipping is what it is. Once I got elected, I've donated that to search and rescue every time, and they didn't know that. And I thought, well, that's just a question. Just ask me, talk to me, or a records request, So just little stuff like that I learned about. I went through all the precincts. I didn't realize that when it comes to voting, that Union County itself has 14 or 15 different precincts. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like 6 or 7 in LeGrand that single out areas. So I went through those, and I won every precinct substantially. But there was one precinct that I thought was closer than it should be, a local neighborhood area in LeGrand. So I went through that and said, okay, well, I need to focus in this area. I need folks in this area to take down that wall and have a conversation with me and understand we're more alike than we are different.
Yeah.
So takeaways, I have stuff to work on.
Yeah.
24-hour coverage. That was something that was brought up, and I had a lot of questions about that. We are looking into ways where you can fiscally achieve that. Obviously, with the staffing we have now, it's not possible. With the funding we have now, it's not possible. But that was something that, do we need to do that? I don't know. We've
Right.
looked at it in the past, but it brought up those questions. So yeah, there's room to grow. I learned a tremendous amount about myself, about our office, about the perception across the county.
Yeah.
And that's exciting to me. I did.
Let me, before you go on,
Yeah.
remember that, but let's
Yeah.
go back to 24-hour coverage for just a
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
Because it's important to know, it's not that you have officers on call during that time.
Absolutely, yes.
Right, and
yes.
yeah. I mean, and my daughter is married to one of your
Yes.
deputies,
Yes,
and I
yeah.
know this, and I mean, and that's important not to know. It's not that nobody's available.
Correct.
It's just that during certain time, people are not in cars.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So now
yeah.
go on to what you're going to say.
Yeah. So after when that last person goes home at night, they're on call until the next person comes on. So
Right.
it'd be no different than getting them on the radio if they're in their car. They're still, most of them are still dressed. They're still up. That's their evening at home when they get home 3, 4
Right.
o'clock in the morning. They're available. Somebody calls 911. Somebody's gonna come.
Right.
Based on the level of the call.
Right.
Seriousness of the call. So I learned a lot. There's a lot of things that interested people. The 24-hour coverage, we don't have, to be honest with you, we don't have the data that supports the need.
Right.
So we try and focus all of our resources where our highest, where our data reflects that.
And
this
data
is where they
meaning
need. Data
the
meaning,
number of calls that came in when, I'm sorry,
Correct.
I'm
No,
filling.
yeah,
because
yeah,
this is really
yeah.
important to fill
Yeah,
in.
the data basically is I take when somebody calls in to dispatch and reports a crime or a situation or something that's going on. Chief Bell, he runs the dispatch center, and Rhonda Griffin, they collect all that data, and anything that I need, it's like, hey, what are we looking at between the hours of 12 and midnight for the last month? Or what are we looking at between 3 and 6 a.m.? Well, I can tell you in the last year, we've had less than 100 calls between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., where we've had, 1,200 calls between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m., whatever.
Right.
It's not the exact numbers, but, okay, this is where I need to focus our resources. I need to put everything we have into this because this is our highest activity. It's common sense, right?
Common sense. Yeah.
It's common
100%.
sense. But, some people say, well, I never see somebody driving around at night. Well, just because you don't see them doesn't mean that they're not there. They might have driven by your house, an hour ago or 30 minutes ago, unless you sit there and look out your window all day and all night long, you'll see a deputy, trust me. I mean, I pay the gas bill.
Right.
I do the mileage on the vehicles.
Right.
They're not being unused. So yeah, it's important. And what I stress over and over in these conversations, I need that data. The only way to get that data is you make that phone call. Because a lot of people are just like, nah, I'm not going to mess with it. I don't want to bother them, or
Right.
it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Well, if it's not that big of a deal, why are we talking about it?
Right.
So call in, make that report as little as you think it is, as insignificant as you think it is. All of those phone calls reflect data for me, and that gives us the ability to focus our resources where they're needed the most.
Yeah.
So still looking forward, is there a way that we can jumble things around or reorganize finances and staffing to provide a higher level of coverage? To be honest with you, right now, no. We've looked at that in the past. The former sheriff looked at doing 24-hour coverage. It's just not possible and feasible with the staffing that you have. And I say that we have 15 patrol deputies-ish. If one of those guys, if we had 15 guys on all the time, sure, we could do 24-hour coverage, but you have medical leave, you have family leave, you have vacation time, comp time. As soon as somebody takes a day off, calls in sick, that wipes that whole schedule out. So you're backfilling with other people. You just don't have the ability to do it. Our contract cities, they require a certain amount of hours. Elgin's 420 hours. If we go to 24-hour coverage right now, there's no way that we can provide that coverage in Elgin just itself. And then you have Island City, and then you have the schools. That takes away 2 deputies, 3 at times, and then the union contract. There's just right now it's not fiscally possible to do 24-hour coverage. If that continues to go on, as I keep communicating with people in the community in the smaller outlying towns, if that becomes a priority and we can justify doing that, then yeah, that's something we'll look at doing. But and I hate to say this, but everything always comes back on funding.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So approximately when you have a patrol officer what does it cost to pay him, equip him per year? Car? You have a guess on what that is?
Not a guess. I know. We base each full-time position at about $120,000 to $130,000 a year.
Okay.
For everything.
For everything.
Training.
Not that's everything that's included to once that deputy's established. Now you have startup costs, additional startup costs, which are, if you count the vehicle, and not everybody gets a new vehicle by any means.
Right.
It's usually a hand-me-down. The vehicle is usually already paid for, so we don't. But if you were to take a new deputy, I mean, you're going to have a $70,000 vehicle. You're going to have close to $15,000 to $20,000 in equipment just for that vehicle and for that deputy with their gear, their uniforms, and then you have your 6 months of training. It's substantial. I would say startup costs, if you were to take a deputy and equip them with all new equipment and go right from the get-go, you're close to $200,000 to $220,000 just to get the guy to go.
So the point is like you said, like even if you wanted to do 24-hour coverage and you needed more staff, then you would need, if you put on 2 officers, you're going to need close to $500,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
and
just
then
to
sustain
get
them
them
each year,
going.
$120,000
Right.
each year.
Yeah.
And that's not their salary, that's, benefits, vacation pay, everything that comes along with
Right.
that.
And your entire budget is how much?
The entire budget's a little over $5 million.
Okay.
I have basically 2.5 for corrections and 2.5 for patrol.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I remember the conversations you and I had when you decided that you were going to run, and that was a pretty heavy load.
Yeah.
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 Did you have, were you equipped to handle the financial? I mean, I'm just overwhelmed to think about, I know what it is to run a business.
Right.
And there are times I look at that and I feel, I can't even imagine managing a $5 million budget.
I'll tell you what my saving grace is, and what I learned right off the bat is I have really good people working for me.
Yeah.
And I rely heavily on the experience that I have in the office.
Right. You have to.
You have to. And I have to be able to step back and be brave enough to know that I don't know what I'm doing in certain situations,
Right.
To be frank, and be able to say, I need you on this.
Yeah.
What's really cool about that is I have people that I've worked with for a long time now, almost 15 years. That it's been the same people that we've worked with. There's been some new people come in, but we have a good core group of folks. And my admin staff, I could not do this job without. When I first took over this as sheriff, I had some background, with budgeting and marketing and employee costs and expense at Les Schwab.
Right.
Very familiar with that. So I had the groundwork for it. But this budget versus that budget, there's different line items, different descriptions, what you can spend it on, where it comes from, the revenues coming in, and what it takes to attain and keep, and the longevity of those, revenues, grants. It was an eye-opener for me. We were comparing apples to apples as just, yellow versus red versus green versus, figuring that out. But I will tell you, without the people that I have in positions throughout our office, from our front office staff to Kathy Falk to Ken Woodward to Nick Helter, down to my sergeants managing the day-to-day stuff. Without those people, I would not be able to do this job. Without having Shelley Burgess across the street, the great relationship with the commissioners, what we can do with funding, where it's coming from. Without that communication, the ship would sink.
Yeah.
It would absolutely sink, and I rely heavily on that. And I'm not scared to say I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Hey, help, please.
Right, but right, and I totally get that. And that's a great tool for you to be able. So then, if something were to happen to you, the ship is going to continue down the road.
Absolutely.
Officers are still going to go. They're still going to go on patrol. They're still going to go do their thing. Yeah.
Yeah. If something were to happen to me, the sun will come up tomorrow.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out. What I fear about that though is the morale and the relationship that I have with our employees, with my employees. There's a boss and there's an employee, but we are a family, and I really stress family first, and taking care of yourself and taking care of your family, and if you need time with your family, go do it. We have a job to do, and that's of course our priority. But if I don't have healthy, happy people, I don't have a healthy, happy organization. So I really focus on that family life and making sure that my door is always open. If you have something, a question, a concern, we have a chain of command, obviously, but I'm available, not just to the people, but to my employees first.
How has it been managing buddies? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, because you were all patrol officers
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And then you became sheriff. I mean,
Yes.
how have
Yeah.
you adapted to that?
And I learned that at Les Schwab as well. I can't be best friends with the people that I manage.
Yeah, no.
You just can't. It just creates awkwardness. I've had friends that I've known for many years that are deputies. Dane Jensen, I worked with his wife Cammie at Les Schwab, so I knew Dane from that when he worked over at the prison in Pendleton. Friends with him. Several other deputies that I grew very close to as patrol deputies, Jason McCaig, Tony Humphreys. There is, once I took on this role, I don't say that there was separation because my best friend is my wife. If I have free time, I'm with my wife or my daughters. That's my priority. I've never been a guy to go out and hang out with the guys at the bar and whatnot. And most of the guys that work for me aren't that way either. They're family oriented. They want to spend time with their family. Relationships in the office, though, I had deputies that I was closer with versus deputies that I wasn't so close with, just because we connected more on different levels, outside of stuff.
Yeah.
But basically, what it comes down to is recognition, recognizing that I'm in the leadership role now, and my decisions have to be based off of the business, the structure, the longevity of the office, and where we're going, our goals, goal-oriented. Do I have conversation with deputies, some deputies more than other deputies? Yeah, absolutely. I never found it as a problem as it wasn't hard for me to do to go from coworker to leader, and I'll probably reflect that based on my leadership style. Is I'm not a heavy-handed, I'm not a micromanager by any means. I recognize right off the bat that we have people in certain areas throughout the office that are really good at what they do, and leave them alone, let them do their job. Of course, fill in and make sure that I'm overseeing and seeing what's going on. And what's really crucial about our is they understand what I want and what drives me and what's important to me, and then they go attack that and they go do that based off of my values. They know that those vehicles they're a rolling billboard for me. It says Union County Sheriff's Office on it, but they know that they're representing me as an individual and the office as a whole. So it's crucial. During COVID, it was hard to find people to work for you. People just didn't want to work. The whole program was messed up. But what we had, we didn't lower our standards when it came to hiring. And I think that was crucial because there was it was very hard to find good candidates, corrections, patrol, whatever that looks like. It was very hard to find good people, but we kept our standard to a certain level. We went from, having 30 or 40 applicants down to 10, 11 applicants. But keeping that core group of values and a level of integrity of who we're looking for and what we want and the direction that we're going, sticking with that motto. And I'll be honest with you, Sheriff Rasmussen created that. He hired me, he hired a lot of the guys that I work with, and he had a vision for what he wanted in his office, and I shared that vision when it came to employees.
Yeah.
So, just surrounding myself with good people and allowing to check my ego at the door and say, what do you got? I don't make a decision without asking 2 or 3 different people.
Yeah.
I really don't. And it's people from different sides of the aisle, if you will. I think that's been very key to my success so far, is being able to surround myself with good people and recognize their abilities and their strengths and their weaknesses and work together as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, looking back, when you first ran, was it hard running against a boss that you
It was awful.
respected?
It was awful. First off, I loved the job that I did. As a school resource officer, that I had a passion for. I still do. I had a passion for that, and trying to get kids at a younger age to run to me, not away from me.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that job, and for me to number one walk away from that was the hardest thing to do, because I worked really hard to establish those relationships with the school district and parents and kids, and I felt like I had ownership in that. And the thought through my mind is, who's going to do this job? Who's going to take care of this when I'm gone? And there was a lot of worry from the school district of, I want to vote for you, but I don't want to lose you.
Right.
So, but when I there was a point in my career where I sat down with the former sheriff and I told him that I will never run against you, because he asked me, he's like, there's people that I hear that, want you to run for sheriff. And I said, Boyd, I respect you and what you're doing here, and I will never run against you. I will never run against you. I will wait until you're gone. If that's, in God's plan, that's what we're going to do. So when things started digressing and I understood what was going on with the DOJ and the possibility of him losing his badge and the possibility of the other candidate that was running against him being our sheriff, who was our former sergeant, was a nightmare to all of us. It was scary. I sat down in his office and I told him, I said, I have to run for sheriff. I had several of our, not all of our deputies, but a lot of our deputies saying, Cody, you need to run for sheriff, because if you don't, this guy's going to be sheriff and this office will fall apart. Okay, I'm not ready for this. I don't want to do this. I love my job.
Right.
So many, stewing it over with the wife and whatnot. And I sat down with Boyd and I said, I have to run for sheriff. I cried. Because I told this man, I gave him my word that I wouldn't run against him, but it came to a point that I didn't have any other choice. And I think he understood that. It was disheartening and frustrating, but in his, in his soul, I think he knew what was going to happen. But it was, it was, when I left Les Schwab to go be a police officer, a deputy, I couldn't even, Bob Butler was my manager at the time. I couldn't even get the words to come out of my mouth. And I remember him sitting across the table and he'd be like, damn it, son, what's wrong? And I said, I gotta go. I gotta go be a cop. Talking to Boyd and having that conversation was very difficult, but it was a conversation that needed to be done. And at that point, that's when I recognized, the weight of this role and what I was stepping into. And there was are we really doing this? Is this my wife? She's my rock. She supports me, and when we're doing it. We're doing it. It was very hard. It was very difficult. As I had a tremendous amount of respect for that man. I lost a little bit in the end, but still what he did for this office and this county and this community and his vision, it's still going. It's still going forward. So, yeah.
No, and me too. I mean, I've been in those situations where I've followed somebody who was a giant in what it is that they did.
Yeah.
And that's not, that's not easy. My first goal is like, okay, I just want to keep the doors open. I just want to, let me just try and do a little bit about what they were doing before. Yeah.
And it was humbling too. There was a lot of deputies that have a lot of experience and a lot more time in than I did. They recognized who I was in the community and saw me as the leader going forward and believed in me. I mean, that was humbling. It was, guys, are you sure I can do this? Absolutely, we're sure you can do this. You've been our leader in our union. You've been our president. We know you can do this, and we know that you have the support in the community. Yeah. So, it was, and even after this election, it's like, do people still want me as sheriff? Do people, people are like, you realize you don't even need to put any signs out, right? You got this. And I'm like, no. I don't want to sit on my heels and be blindsided. All the what ifs of everything that we've worked for in the last 4 years. All my deputies, a lot of folks don't know, and I'm not trying to talk bad about the other party, but they were leaving, they were gone. If I didn't stay as sheriff, we'd lose half our staff.
And I'd heard that from multiple places.
Yeah, and that's scary to me of what would happen to our community. What would happen to the general public that doesn't know the inner workings of what's going on if 7 of these deputies walked out the door, if all 3 of my office staff walked out the door. What that would look like.
So those folks that are critical of, is it leadership? From their perspective, how would you voice what it is that they would do differently than what you're doing?
It was basically that I was running against 2 people. I wasn't running against just one candidate. There was another person involved in that.
Who you ran against
who I ran against the previous time. Twice. Now,
but I guess
3
what I'm
times now
saying
I've ran
is
against
like,
this guy.
how would you answer your critics' questions that were running against you? I mean, I'm not talking about the most recent, but previously,
Sure, yeah. A disconnection. They don't know the interworkings of what. If that candidate would have done his research about the other person that he was running with, he would have known that is not a good person to affiliate yourself with when it comes to the office.
Right.
We had that person as a sergeant. We all worked under his leadership, and we
Yeah.
all know how just awful that it was at times.
And why was it awful? I guess that's why. Why would people prefer to work for you rather than some other potential administration?
I think
mean, if you could summarize that up.
The biggest thing is that I'm a leader, that I recognize that, you know, my weaknesses, or I recognize other people's strong points, and I let them do their job. I don't micromanage.
Okay,
I don't micromanage, and I don't nitpick.
Okay.
And when people walk into the office, they're happy to be there. I have a smile on my face. That starts at the top with me. You know, when I go in there, it's a pleasant place to be, and people enjoy working there, and they want to come into that.
Right.
Had that changed, it would not be a pleasant, because we already had that. We knew what that was at that
Right.
time, and frankly, we lost people over it. There's been other organizations that lost people over that particular individual. That it just morale in the office, and there's a difference between loving what you do, and that one person in there you'll either love it or you'll hate it based off of that one person. So
No,
yeah.
that I mean, I think that helps.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It was scary. It was, you know, a lot of what ifs of what would happen if I didn't win.
so now,
So now,
are there any? I mean, because there will be a time when Sheriff Cody Bowen sunsets.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, are you hoping that some of this crew that is behind you that you're raising will be prepared for? I mean, do you see some leadership emerging?
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think as any leader, I mean, I'm always constantly trying to build people better than I am. I want people to have more experience, to have better people skills, to building those individuals to leave it better than I found it. So are there people that I believe that could step into this role? Absolutely, absolutely. For different areas, different aspects. It takes a very special person to be in this role, a balance and an ability to recognize what you're doing. And not saying that I'm the best person, but I'm trying to create in all of my deputies a little bit of me. Take a little bit from me, add it to yourself, and make a better thing coming forward. There are people, just like we said earlier, the sun will come up tomorrow. You know, it'll be a different style. Somebody will do things a little bit different. But as long as it's better than when I left it, I think that I did a good job building these people. Because it's about building those people. I'm only as strong as my newest guy. I'm as strong as my weakest person in the link, right? And we all recognize that. So we want to build that individual up behind us. Our newest deputy, we want to get them up to speed and get them better and stronger and more experienced and the ability to handle situations, because our strength is as a team, not as an individual. So I don't pretend to think that this functions as well as it does and the level that it does simply because of me. It's a group effort, and we're building those people for the future.
And there's the ultimate carrot in police work, where building up your teammates is so important because your life is on the line.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
That's the ultimate carrot. Like, I might go to a job and say, you know, like they hire somebody new, and maybe, you know, like it's not quite as important to build that person up because my life's not on the line. You know what I mean?
Right.
But when your life's on the line, you have to do that.
Yeah. Or to hold those people back because you're worried they're going to take your job,
Right,
or they're going to do better. When
You can't do that in the long
as a
run.
team, you talk about the stack, and the stack is basically, you know, your 5 or 6 people that are going through that door first. You have to believe in that person standing in front of you. You have to believe in that person standing behind you, and know that and we have that. We have that trust. We know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and when we put people where they excel the best, and we have that trust to know that. I know that this person standing behind me is going to watch my back, and I know that I'm going to take a bullet for him before it gets to him. We have that, and we've accepted that, and our families have accepted that.
Right.
And it's something special that I could blab all day, but I can't put into it what it feels like having that type of working relationship with people that are truly love you and would die for you and die for complete strangers.
Well, and that, what you just described, is so far removed from actually running, the politics of running.
Absolutely.
I mean, that would be awful, dizzying for me. You know, I mean, the stuff that you're dealing with on social media, but at the end of the day, you know that there are people that are working for you that literally are risking their lives potentially every day
Every day.
to protect the public. Yeah.
Every day.
And so, and the disconnect between those two is just,
You gotta have thick skin.
Thick skin, gotta have thick skin, big shoulders. Yeah.
It helps to have people that care about you too.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt.
You gotta have a reason to do it, and the reason is not the people. The reason for me is of course our youth, keeping them safe, building a community that they can stay here and work in and feel safe and raise a family. Taking care of the people that are calling 911 and needing help. Those aren't the people that are criticizing me. Those aren't the people that are, nitpicking at everything that we do. Those are and even the people that nitpick or criticize, they're still people that we respond to and we help. And you don't care about their views or that they were angry at us last week. We have a job to do, and that is,
No, yeah, you could have somebody that completely blasts you on Facebook.
Yeah.
Or wherever,
Yep.
and then the next day maybe you show up and give them CPR. And say,
right, but that is
absolutely,
and you wouldn't even think.
You wouldn't
twice
think about it. No.
right,
No.
but that's voiced when you're in a gunfight and somebody's trying to kill you and they're injured and now you've got to save their life.
Yeah, you got to flip that switch.
Yeah. No. So let's talk briefly about Measure 110 and the changes. And do you feel like you're able to fight the drug problem better? Where's that at?
Better, yes. Not as I was very hopeful in the beginning that I would say the complete repeal, but the changes to Measure 110 would give us more teeth. What we're seeing is not the case.
Okay.
What we're seeing is we're still facing the struggle. So, and it comes back to not just Measure 110, but how Oregon has dictated how law enforcement does their job. Right. When it comes to traffic stops.
And Kelsey was here not too long ago, and we kind of dove into
that.
this issue a little bit also.
Yeah. So, are we seeing some? We had our first, I think, eligible person to fall into what we're calling the deflection, the diversion, if you will. The first candidate for that. So it basically the deputy makes contact with them out on the street, and they discover that they have some drugs on them. They can offer, here's your citation, or you're going to jail, or you can call this number. There's a new position in the DA's office, which I'm sure she talked about, but the deflection coordinator, get in touch with them, enter into rehab, successfully complete that program, and this citation goes away. Our first candidate, our first person that qualified for that program was recently just introduced to that program. So there's not, when it comes to the addiction world and drugs and the criminal activity, we don't see brand new people. This is the first time that they're doing this. We see people that have a rap sheet that are several pages long, that don't qualify for that program, that have several felonies or misdemeanors. So it's tough. Traffic stops as a whole, we can't extend traffic stops anymore. Oregon stated that basically, we used to be able to, hey, where are you going? What's going on? If you had anything to drink, I can't even pull people over for a headlight now. I'm talking on the cell phone, seatbelt, brake light, expired tags. Oregon says, no, you cannot do that. If I pull somebody over for running a stop sign, I can talk to them about the stop sign. I can't talk to them about, hey, what you got in the trunk or what's in the center console. We can't talk about that anymore. It's against the law for us to do that. Things have changed so much. So we still have that hindering our ability to talk to that person, extend that stop, and develop probable cause to say, okay, there's more going on here than what meets the eye. So that's frustrating. So that's made it very difficult as well. We do have the task force going. I have yet to get any help from the other agencies. I know that it's a priority for Chief Bell to put someone in there. Comes back to funding. Oregon State Police, I've reached out to them. Captain Connor has been amazing trying to help, but he has Salem and his bosses dictating where his resources go. So we do still have our drug task force going. We are developing some very large cases, which is good, going after the bigger fish.
Right.
And that's been productive. And like I said, we still have several cases that we're working right now. We'll be able to close the door on here very shortly. So
good.
But yeah.
Good. That's good to hear.
Yeah. So things are better. Things are better.
You have a few more teeth, but still
yes, a few more teeth, but really not enough to handle it the way that the community expects us to handle it, the way that we want to handle it. It's still frustrating to be in law enforcement this day and age.
If you had a wish list, I'm sure you do have a wish list, but if you had something that could really make a difference in the life of Union County, What would be at the top of that list?
Accountability, holding people accountable.
Okay.
Our judicial system, and not our local judges, but the Oregon judicial system, we have enabled this behavior and we have created a monster. And I say that based off of laws that have been created from anywhere from the Senate bills or legislation that's come through. People are not held accountable.
Give me an example. Like,
We have a gentleman that was held on some very serious charges, and he was eligible to post bail. That person should not be in our community. Kidnapping, assault one, all kinds of drug offenses. Person-to-person crimes, drug crimes. Every interaction with law enforcement is very dangerous. There's always a car chase. There's always a gun involved. It's very dangerous. This person should not be on the streets. And this is from years ago, and stuff just keeps building. Our judicial system does not hold people accountable. We enable that behavior because, my opinion, we enable that behavior by not holding people accountable. And I'm not saying everybody needs to go to prison.
right, but let's go back to that for an instance. So then, what goes wrong where they're able to make bond when they shouldn't, in your opinion, shouldn't be? Because the laws allow them to?
Yes, Oregon state law says this is what the judge can sentence this person to,
Okay.
and that's all that they can do. They can't go outside of those parameters. Now, there's
Okay.
some gray area in certain areas, but they say that they have to post. You're charged with or your bail is set at $300,000, but the state allows 10% of that to get you out. So
Right.
they find $30,000 from their local drug dealer and say, "Hey, I'll go deliver all this dope for you. Give me $30,000 to get me out."
Oh, wow.
They get out of jail, and then they're right back out there on the streets running the dope again.
Got it.
And everything that goes with it. When it comes to first-time offenses, I really think that we need to hold people accountable and set the tone of, this is not a road you want to go down. I'm not just going to say, okay, well, I'm just going to sentence you to, some work crew or some probation, and you check in with me and we do drug court. Drug court works well for some folks, but it's a slap on the wrist. I really would like to see, if I had a top of the list, I would like to see people held accountable. And I'm all about second choices, and I know that there's recovery, and I know that people can right their wrongs. I'm not saying everybody needs to go to prison, but there needs to be accountability in the state of Oregon for accountability for your behavior. You made this choice. These are the consequences that come with it, and this is what you're going to be charged with, sentenced with, and you're going to serve this time, and it's going to be awful. You're going to hate it. You're never going to want to come back. And some people that I've talked to that are very productive citizens or kids, their waking up point was spending the day in jail or spending the week in jail. It's like, I never want to go back there again. It changed my attitude. Right. The only way I got clean is I spent 6 months in prison. But then there's the same that, I spent 30 days in jail and I got clean and then I was feeling great and I got right back out in the same circles and here I am again. Accountability is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to ramble, but the state of Oregon does not hold criminal behavior accountable, period.
I feel like that's just our society.
Sure.
Back in the days, if you talked a bunch of smack, you're getting punched in the eye.
Absolutely.
Nowadays, you ain't.
Absolutely.
So, of course, you're going to keep doing it because there's no consequences.
Right.
Somebody kept picking at me back in the days, I would have socked them.
For
but
sure.
Nowadays, nobody.
Yeah.
Our society just lets people get away with.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's frustrating on our end. I mean, we spend a lot of time working these cases. We spend a lot of time out there spending taxpayer money to apprehend this criminal behavior. We put them in jail, and they're out before we get our paperwork done. What message does that send to the community? Well, the cops aren't doing their job. Well, we're doing our job. But
And it's super demoralizing for the
For
officers.
you guys. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's why do we do this? Why do we
Right.
keep doing this same stuff, risking our lives, doing this when we're not getting any support on the back end?
Yeah.
So,
Especially like the dangerous ones, like you're
Absolutely.
talking about, that are
Absolutely.
constantly in a car chase or
Yeah.
have a gun or it's
victimizing
like,
other
dude,
people.
come on.
People get tired of their shops getting broke into. They get tired of stuff being stolen. They want answers of why is this person still doing this?
Yeah.
Well, the answer is, when it comes down to voting, we need to recognize that there are legislation that has consequences directly reflected to us, and we need to focus on those bills that are coming through that hold people accountable, and we need to support those.
Yeah.
Not the let's give them another shot. Let's decriminalize meth. Let's decriminalize heroin, and let's give a hug to the addicts. Yeah, they need a hug, but they need some accountability as well.
Right.
It's not okay to set up your tent on downtown Adams on somebody else's property. It's not okay.
Yeah.
But Oregon has accepted that and let that behavior go on for so long. Our mental health You know, we have people that have severe mental health issues. They don't have there's no place for them to go. In Eastern Oregon, they can go to CHD Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We have some outreach houses. We have a great sober living community here. But we don't have, for extreme mental health, we do not have the ability to place those people and get them the help they need. Jail is not the place for mental health. Jail is not the place for addiction. We need those, and we're working on those. I'm not just saying all the bad things. We're working on those. We have a team that we're working with commissioners and several other entities, CHD, Grand Island Hospital, and the DA's office, and we're trying to provide a solution to take to the state and say, help us with funding to this. So detox center, stabilization center, mental health treatment. We're working on that, but I feel the state created this problem and now they dumped it on the individual counties and said, here, you fix the problem that we created and we're gonna put all this red tape in your way. The red tape drives me crazy.
Right.
Because we want to do a detox center, but we have to have a certain amount of beds. If you go over that, then you don't get the funding from the state. If you go under that, you don't get the funding from the state. Well, what fits good here doesn't always fit good here. So a lot of frustration there. But yeah, accountability is at the top of my list. Let's hold people accountable.
So one last question.
Yeah.
In that, are there times, and I'm sure there are, I mean, as sheriff, you're not getting shot at as much,
Right.
hopefully,
Right.
But you still have those occasions, I mean, where your officers are. I mean, I'm thinking of, are there days that you can recall when an officer comes back in? And I'm thinking about Dane a couple of years ago, and a bad guy shoots out of the car and disables his vehicle. I mean, can you recall some of those times when it's like, this was potentially awful today?
For sure.
Yeah.
More than I can recall, more than I can count, we've had those moments. And not just the immediate safety of bad guy shooting a good guy, but situations where deputies respond to certain things and we see things that the human eye is not meant to see, right? On a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, because shootings don't happen that often.
Shootings don't happen that
obviously,
often,
but there are
children that get hurt,
Yes,
children that pass
100%.
away, infants that pass away. It is very difficult for a person to walk in and see a child dying and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Right.
So the mental health thing, I worry about that considerably, and the wellness of it. And we have a great core group of all of our working partners recognize that, and we address that now. As a role as sheriff, I'm not in gear all the time. I'm not out there doing the job day to day. It's very hard for me to listen to that radio and not jump in my truck and go be the mama bear to make sure my guys are safe.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I have to say, am I going to be in the way more than I am going to be a benefit to this situation? I don't get to go run through the door anymore. I got to stay back at the car at the command staff, which is hard for me. Lieutenant Woodward, Jason McCaig, Sergeant McCaig, Travis, Sheriff, no, we need you here. That's been a leadership thing that it's been very hard because I feel that I need to be out there in front. I feel that I need to be I need to be chasing that car. I need to be right there with my guys. And not so much anymore because they recognize that that's who I am. And most of the time, not most of the time, but there's been times where how'd the sheriff get here so fast? What's going on? What's the sheriff doing here? In situations.
Must be something serious.
Yeah, it's like,
No, it's just Cody.
he beat me, right?
Lucille stubbed her toe and is bleeding all over the
I got you.
down there with the first aid kit.
Yeah. It's recognizing my role and trusting in my people and letting them do their job. It's hard for me to step back and when the ball gets thrown, I want to chase it. So recognizing that, I still do at times. I still put on my gear. I still go out and do calls. I still, show up on the guys' calls as much as I can. Not nearly as much as I would like to. But we have a really good. I don't miss any opportunities with the guys for that team building, that friendship, that bond, because we have, in the office, during debriefing, before shift, after shift, guys come into my office and they sit down on the couch and they say, hey, what's going on? We have that type of relationship that, was lacking at times. I don't lead by fear.
Right.
I lead, by partnership and working together, and that helps fill those gaps of, the car to car, us two patrol deputies sitting together talking to each other out there on the freeway or whatnot. I don't get those times as much as I would like, but I fill that in different ways. So I miss it. I miss being in the schools. I miss being with the kids. I do know, and I truly believe that there are great people in the roles that I formerly had, and I know that there's people out there doing the job that I did just as well, if not better.
Good.
Yeah.
Randy Winterton says, accountability, couldn't agree more. It seems society has realized that your hands are tied in most aspects.
I think so. I think people
are starting to
are
catch
recognizing,
on.
And I hate saying that our hands are tied, but people are recognizing that, there's certain things that we just can't do anymore.
Right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you guys.
We could talk a long time.
We could.
Yeah.
All day.
Well, thank you for being here. And thanks for, appreciate what you're doing. We, we all depend, and this, we depend on the safety aspect of our community. And it's just, a community is based on several different things. Safety is one of those, education is one of those, medical, our access to, those are the three, one of the three pieces of the stool that have to be there.
Yeah. And I will tell you that between just those three entities you mentioned, Grand Island Hospital with Jeremy Davis, School District with George Mendoza, and the people below them that they put into play, we have really good communication, really good working relationships, and each one of those men that I just spoke of, including myself, are driving forces as community.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And you can talk to them, and you see them out in the community, and they're around.
Yeah.
And so. Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for
Thank you
jumping
guys.
on this morning.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And so we appreciate you being here, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
On this day, December 3rd, 1689, the first recorded successful separation of conjoined twins, Elizabeth and Katharina Meherin, completed by Swiss surgeon Johann Fascio in Basel, Switzerland. 1910, on this day, neon lights are first publicly displayed at the Paris Auto Show. 1967, on this day, the first human heart transplant performed in South Africa by Dr. Christian Barnard on Louis Washkansky. 2020, on this day, AT&T Inc.'s Warner Brothers Studio announces all its 2021 movies will stream online the same day they appear in theaters, which was like groundbreaking because now they still do that.
Yeah.
You don't even have to go to a theater to watch a movie premiere nowadays. On this day, the number one song in America, 1994, Here Comes the Hot Stepper by Heine Kamosi. And then the quote of the day comes from George Bernard Shaw. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. One more time. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself.
All right.
That's it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Appreciate you,
being
Cody.
here.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
So, and Thursday, Taylor Scroggins from the LeGrand Warming Station or Union County Warming Station, and they've expanded their programs to fill in some of these gaps that you're talking about. And so he will be here with us on Thursday to talk about that. See you soon.